Pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this morning, Jared?
I feel good. If we can finally get this recording going.
Yep.
Off the air, we had some technical difficulties, but
we're back.
We're back, man. You'll never even know. Had we not told you, you'd have no idea that everything doesn't go as smooth as you think it does behind the scenes. We honestly should keep some of that for like B-roll bloopers every now and then.
Right. Damn it. Video. Shit.
Yeah, technology is our friend, and other times I'm like, what the hell are we doing? But how are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm feeling good. Last week was what I like to call my fat week, the week after the fight. Indulged in some food and some alcohol and some laziness, not working out much. I did go on a couple runs, but not like fight camp, you know. So
no, totally different.
Yeah, it's like a totally different life for a week. So I'm in this kind of transitional phase, but it was good. It was good to have a lot more time, office time, work time, kind of get rebounds with that. But I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I think it'll be interesting for you as you progress through fighting and life. Is nothing else compares to fighting. Like there's very little options out there that would be a parallel or equivalent.
Yeah.
At least that I've found. And now maybe if you go from fighting to like another extreme sport, like climbing Mount Everest or something, to where you have to train day and you know what I mean? Like there's just fighting is like one of the most time consuming, structured, if you do it right, detailed processes. So
for just a few minutes of fighting though, which is so interesting because it's like hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of training. And then, you know, for me at this point, max 9 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's.
Well, you fought this last fight was second round, or third round, so you were about 7.5 minutes into it. Mm-hmm. It felt like a long fight. Mm-hmm. And when you think about the whole, like, how many hours you put in to train for 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's a funny thought. And then it's over. It felt fast to me.
Yeah.
Like being in it, I was like, oh, that's it.
Oh, gosh. No, I think everybody else is like, oh, my God, this thing's dragging off. All right, quit already, guy.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that. I'm like, God, this guy won't go to sleep. Yeah.
No, so he would not be a guy that I would say would fall to today's episode.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a victim mentality. Like, that dude is a warrior.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, well, congrats on the win. That's always awesome. It's good to see your labor pay off. And now today we jump into, what did we say, episode 98, I believe. 98. So we got some homework to do for our 100th episode that I think will be fun for the community.
Yeah.
We'll have that up in a couple weeks for you. But today I wanted to dive into something that I just see a lot. And I thought maybe we could talk about it and share some ideas with our community to help them or to help them help those around them that fall victim to this.
Yeah.
And that is how to escape the world of perpetual victimhood.
Yeah.
You know, and like off the top of my head, I can think of a couple people that I personally know that every time I see them, the conversations about what else has gone wrong in their life. Right, and like it kind of ties back to the low vibration episode we did last week or the week before, right? That's kind of that low vibe mentality of instead of seeing all the opportunities around them, they see what's gone wrong and why I'm still being held back. Mm-hmm. So, to me, that's like a victimhood mentality, right? Like nothing's ever right. Mm-hmm. So how can we help our community either shake that or help them help others get out of that? First off, why do you think people go there? Why do you think able-bodied, able-minded, healthy people that could do whatever they want every day choose to stay in a realm of everything's always wrong?
I think part of it is because people unfortunately get sympathy or attention when they play the victim. And they're like, oh, poor me, poor this, poor that. And then you have people like, oh, are you okay? Or what can I do to help? And for some people, they think that that's the only way that they can receive love or attention from some people. I think that's one of the primary drivers, which pisses me off, to be honest. It makes me sick sometimes knowing people are playing a victim when they have so much potential, when there's so many other ways to progress in life than by trying to get people to care and love you because you're like, oh, poor me, poor me. And because we're so blessed. There's so much to be grateful for. Honestly, when I hear people complaining and playing the victim, it's hard. It's hard for me to empathize because it just pisses me off. It makes me sick. I'm like, look, you live in the United States of America. You have a roof over your head. You're fully clothed. You have running water. You can eat whatever the hell you want at any time you want. Like, we have so many blessings. And, I've been to third world countries. I've been to refugee camps. Yeah. I've seen people that they have a reason to play the victim, right? So it just kind of pisses me off. And I don't really have that much patience for that.
Let's say I think that's a key is what you talked about there is perspective. It's easy to wallow in our own self-pity when we lose perspective, and like we talked about, a couple episodes ago with Courtney and the awesome work she does in Africa. Like literally those kids have nothing, but they're some of the happiest kids on earth. Why? Because they don't know they have nothing.
Yeah.
Right. And like think about like nobody's told them they should feel bad for themselves. Nobody's told them like, oh, over there, they have all this that you don't have. You should be upset about this. Like, they just live in the moments. And I think you're right. I think sometimes we are in a society right now where we lack genuine honesty. That's what I believe. I could be wrong. And what I mean by that is you have a bad day or a bad couple days. I care about you. But for some reason, the way I have to express that care is to say, oh, it'll be okay. Don't worry about it, Ollie. It'll be fine. And the truth is, it's not going to be. Right? If you'd have lost that fight because you went out there and you didn't handle your nerves and you got super nervous and you just did all the stuff we didn't train to do. If after the fight I'd be like, oh, Ollie, it's fine. You tried hard, buddy, but don't worry. It'll be okay. Well, I'd be letting you down when the reality is I gotta be like, dude, what the fuck? Like, you didn't do it. Like, we gotta look at why did this happen? Why did you get so nervous? Well, because you didn't prepare right. Because remember all those nights you were supposed to be at practice and you went out partying? That catches up, right? Like, we have to have that conversation. But we're so afraid to do that because it might hurt your feelings. Well, you know what really hurts people's feelings? When you let them lie to themselves and you start lying to them.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Right? Like, if I'm fucking up, like, somebody in my life should be able to tell me that. And if I have a whole circle of people that nobody can actually tell you when you're messing up, or nobody says, hey, remember you were supposed to do this, but you didn't get it done, what happened? If everybody makes excuses for you, your circle's not strong. Right? And I think that allows us to continue to be victims. Right? Because everybody in life, if there's one thing that we all have in common, is that not everything goes right for us.
Yeah.
Victims of crime, victim of circumstance, business deals, poor relationships, poor choice. Like the list of things that can go wrong for us is endless. But what we have to do is we have to have some resolution and some resolve that when things go bad, we don't have to just stay there forever and let that define the rest of our lives. And I think the classic example that I see and that most people know about is like that person that's now 50 years old. When you talk to them, they still tell you about their high school days. Well, what's going on? Like you're living so far in the past, you've missed all this time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really good point in the fact that people will continue to stay in that victimhood mentality if who they are going to gives them that oh, are you okay, and that sympathy or attention. Because there comes a point where if you really care about someone, you need to be like, hey, you need to get your shit together. All right, you need to stop playing the victim. And I'm really grateful to my mother. She did a really good job of being a loving, caring mother, but she also had that mentality with my brother and I. Like she would always say, like, are you bleeding? Do you need to go to the hospital? Like, okay, then you're fine, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or and she would really be like, okay, that's enough. Like you've been pouting or whatever. And she would not let us play the victim. It may have been a moment of like, oh, are you okay? Do you need anything? But it was really like, hey, like, toughen up.
Right.
Like, what are you going to do? What's the next step now? Okay, like, that was out of your control, maybe, but now what are you going to do? And I think that it's become this collective, almost like a trend of, like, who has it the worst?
Yeah, oh, no, it's huge.
It's ridiculous.
Like, people want to tout how big a victim they think they are.
Mm-hmm.
When the reality is, tout what a great overcomer you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because we're all going to have to overcome stuff, but we've lost it. And I think, I actually had this discussion the other day with somebody that's recently become a school teacher. And they were telling me that the model they're being taught is to make sure when they're correcting a kid that if they need you to do math differently, they tell you, like, this is what you're doing wrong, but this is what I love about you. And I'm like, why? In my head, like, why? Why do I need to know what you love about me if I'm not doing something right? Mm-hmm. Like, I understand, like, there has to be a balance of critical feedback and positive. Like, I'm all about, like, coaching people is what I do.
Yeah.
But you're also going to know if I'm like, Ollie, man, I love how you did this, but you really got to do that better. Mm-hmm. Like, where's all your energy go? To what you got to do better. Right? So it's almost like we're condescending and we're placating people and like, oh, okay, you're not doing this right, but man, I sure love this. And I'm just like, what? Why are we doing this? Mm-hmm. Like, let's fix them. And if I want to love them, like, I'm going to love you watching you solve problems. That's what I want to love. I want to love you overcoming difficulty.
And that's what you're going to love about yourself. Those are the best feelings that we have as human beings is achievement, right? Progressing, growth. We feel good. We don't feel good. I mean, I was just talking about getting off a fat week.
Yeah.
In the moment, yeah, I felt good eating that stuff, but I'm already like, oh God, like I don't want to look at a unhealthy food or an alcoholic drink for, at least another few months. Cause eventually it just doesn't feel good. And it feels so much better to be doing the hard things that progress you, things that may be a little bit hard in the moment. And that also goes for the way that you communicate with people.
Yeah.
If you have someone who's a victim in your family or in your circle and you perpetuate their victimhood by being like, oh yeah, yeah, that's so hard. Like, you can't do anything about it. That hurts them. Like, a great example, my father, when he got cancer. Yeah, cancer's fucking tough.
Yeah.
Okay, but I wasn't going to let him play the victim because there were days where he's just like, oh, I'm tired. I'm like, Pop, fuck that. Dude, this is a fight. You have cancer that's trying to kill you. Yeah, you're going to feel lazy. You're going to feel like laying in bed. Yeah, you have the chemo poison running through your body. But guess what? Are you going to fight or just lay down and die?
Yeah.
So you need to get up and do your exercise. Stop the damn cigarettes, even if they bring you, a little pleasure. You got to change your diet. And this is someone who has cancer and is going through chemotherapy.
Yep.
That's something that you can easily play the victim with. But even for him, I'm like, do not be the victim. As soon as you accept being a victim, you're going to lose.
And what did he tell you? What was some of the feedback that he gave you afterwards?
Eventually, he's like, you helped me wake up.
You were tough on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is what he needed, right? Because everybody else, like the one freaking doctor, was like, take the chemo and eat whatever you want that makes you feel good. Don't worry about it. And you're like, no, dude. Like, his body's fighting. It needs nutrition. It doesn't need what makes him feel good.
And that was the doctor.
That's a doctor. But again, we're placating, right? Oh, you're a victim of cancer. So let's do this as a community. Let's all admit we've all been victims. Mm-hmm. Every one of us. So I think if you can do that, it might give you a little power back. And what I mean by that is sometimes victims and this victimhood mentality, we walk down the street feeling like we're the only one that's gone through this, and all these other people on the street have it so much better than me because they haven't done what I've done. Or the world's not against them like it is me. Let's cut the bullshit and let's admit we're all victims. We've all been victims at one point or another. So now if I admit that everybody I see has been a victim of something bad, whatever it is, when I walk down the street, instead of going, oh, you have it so much better because you haven't been through it, I can frame it and be like, man, they probably went through worse than me. And look, they're still smiling and happy, and oh, they're still productive, and oh, they're still achieving, and oh, they're still having good relationships. They didn't let one bad relationship put them in a cycle of repeated bad relationships. So if we can all admit that we've all been victims and remove that as a crutch to continue to not be who we're supposed to be, I think we're better off.
For sure.
But you need people around you to tell you that.
Yeah.
Right? And that hold you accountable to that. Like, so how do you know, or how do you rebound? Like, how do you handle a bad situation? And how do you know when it's time to move on? Do you have a system or a practice or a cue that lets you know, like, okay, it's time to move on from this?
Well, it depends on the situation, of course. For me, it's always, is this still serving me? Am I still growing from it, kind of thing? And if the answer is no, then it's pretty clear. All right, well, why am I doing this? I need to move on. Right? Am I still growing? Am I still learning? Does it still feel good? Does it still feel right?
Yeah.
Situation, whether that be a relationship, a business opportunity, an organization that I'm in. That's kind of the biggest indicator for me.
Yeah.
What about for you?
Man, I feel like I've got a pretty good gauge on being honest with myself, and I'm not saying by any means that if something bad happens that you can't sit with it for a minute. I'm all about sitting with it and like letting that sting set in and like, okay, what went wrong? How do I fix this so I don't do it again? And I think that's the cue for me is when it first happens, there's that trauma or there's the sadness or the emptiness, whatever emotions come with it. But then I try to watch like, okay, how long have I been here? And then start attacking it logistically. Like, okay, what led to this? What decisions did I make or what circumstances happened that led to this? And then how do I make sure that doesn't happen again? And I get back to work on it. And instead of thinking like, oh, this is something that has to be this way for the rest of my life, I'm always like, dude, I always have the power to change things. And I think that's a huge lesson for me is when I sit and I dwell on it or I think about it, you kind of feel powerless, like this happened to you. And then as I start progressing, looking at it as a problem, trying to find solutions, you regain your power because now you have control again. So that's the big thing for me is let it sting for a minute and then figure out and then attack it like a problem. Okay, how do I make sure this does not happen again?
Yeah. And I think sitting with a problem and letting it sting for a little bit and allowing yourself to feel anger or sadness or any of those quote unquote negative emotions is different than playing the victim.
Yeah.
To where I like in my life now, I never am like, I'm the victim,
right.
Poor me. Yeah, of course, maybe some certain circumstances will happen that are out of my control and it sucks. But I never want pity or sympathy or for anyone to feel sorry for me. Even when I shared that my father got cancer, and people are like, oh, are you okay? Blah, blah. I would say like, don't feel sorry for me or for us as a fight. What you can do, I'd appreciate, your prayers and that's it.
Yeah.
But I feel that playing the victim is more of that seeking of pity, that seeking of people wanting to feel sorry for you and kind of getting like that baby pamper type of treatment from people. And it's it's not productive to anything positive. Where you focus, energy flows and multiplies, right? So if you're always trying to be this victim and have people feel sorry for you, guess what? The universe is going to bring more things to your life that really give you a reason to feel like a victim and for people to feel sorry for you.
And then what about to those in our community that maybe empower or play caregiver to the perpetual victim? How do you shake that? Right? Like that person that, like I can think of a couple people in my life that when I talk to them, like, oh man, so-and-so has this going on, and so-and-so has that going on, and I can't do this because I have to go help them over there, and I have to go over here and do this. And I'm always like, you create part of this, because for some people, I think their self-identity and their self-worth is based on people needing them all the time. So they like seek out people that are always victims.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we help them realize that actually hurts people instead of helps them in the long run?
Listen to this episode. And I think
I think if the behavior doesn't change.
What do you mean?
Right, like if so your dad has cancer. So we don't know, we hang out, we talk, whatever, you unload on me, right? Because it's just what we do, we're friends. And you're having a bad day, so we get together, we go have dinner or whatever, and you just tell me all this, boom, 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 all this stuff. Well, our relationship is the next time I see you, I don't expect, quite honestly, to have that same exact discussion again.
Mm-hmm.
I would expect to see some like problem solving. Hey, I'm flying down there. I got him this and this and this, and that doctor's bullshit. I'm going to do this. If I get together again and it's literally you're in the same exact place and I do the same exact thing,
mm-hmm.
and then another week and you're saying, right, I'm literally enabling you, which is a key word, or empowering you to stay victim.
Yeah.
Instead of challenging you to rise up again.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a disservice we do, is that it allows people to never become potentially who they should be.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're defined by one thing that happened.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
So that's where I think, to me, is like if you are that person and you're surrounded by people that are constantly in need, but you're not helping them progress from the need, you're part of the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think just like with any productive conversation and effective communication, you need to ask questions. So if it's somebody that you really love and care about, straight up ask them, like, how can I be here to support you? How can I help you? And if whatever answers they give you, remember, if someone is coming to you and they're in a victimhood state, they probably have a lot of emotions going on. And when we're very emotional, we're not very logical. Yeah. So ask them, how can I support you? How can I help you during this time? And see what their answer is. If their answer is not logical and is going to perpetuate the victimhood, maybe ask them again, is that really going to help you come out of this? Is that really going to help you move past this? And if not, suggest something else. And it depends on the relationship too and your style, but I think the world needs more kind of tough love. Like even our society, especially since the pandemic, has been has perpetuated victimhood.
Yeah.
Oh, how has your business been impacted by COVID? Oh, everyone needs a stimulus check.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's like, okay, yeah, that's nice, but at the same time, it's like I'm responsible for me no matter what is going on in the world. Like we need to figure it out, and I think that the world really needs more of that tough love.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like, quite honestly, the gym is a perfect example of that. Like, the gym's doing very well because it's one of the few places people come and get real feedback.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing well or not. If like one of the students was in last night for a class he doesn't normally come to, and I'm like, I don't normally see you at this time. He's like, yeah, I had a pizza and some cheeseburgers over the weekend. I got to work it off.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like that is accountability. Like, that's not a dude that's going to be victim to anything. Like, he's literally like, okay, I did this, which was not good for me, so I got to do this to pay the price for that.
Great.
That's perfect, right? Like, I don't have to do anything. Be like, okay, dude, hop in class. We're here for you. But yeah, we are just so soft, and we're so afraid of being honest that our dishonesty makes it worse for people. And that's what I really think. I think you're being dishonest.
Yeah.
If I know you tell me you're going through something, and I have potentially experience or information that can help mitigate the pain you go through and help you emerge on the other side better, and I don't share it with you, and I just sit and listen to you blame everybody else in the world, I'm being dishonest to you as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because what you're saying is not going to be truthful. What you're saying isn't going to help you progress. And we see this over and over. People literally have one thing bad that happens to them in life, and it defines their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
You have something bad that happens to a school kid or a teenager, and it defines your whole life. And then, granted, people do bad shit to each other.
Yeah.
It's always happened throughout history. People victimize each other. But if we all admit we've been the victim of something bad, and I look and I'm like, okay, how is it they bounce back? What are they doing that I didn't do? Maybe I should try that. Instead of looking for, okay, why am I so much worse than them? And why can I not be what they're doing because it was so much worse for me?
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd be much better off.
For sure.
And people would be a lot more accountable and honest. And you know, everybody has that one friend that they're like, oh, that person's just so blunt. They just tell you like it is.
That's great.
But you need more of those.
Yep.
Like, why should we just have one friend that's honest with us? Like, shouldn't all your friends be honest?
Yeah.
Right? And that's the value of community in our Circle of Five. Go back for that episode. Dude, can you believe Circle of Five episode was like one of our first 5, I think.
Yeah. It's such a foundational piece to so many of the topics we talk about when it comes to purpose. And when it comes to the purpose of victimhood, I don't think there is one. I mean, I don't think there's a productive one. As the victim, your purpose might be to get a little sympathy and get people to feel sorry for you because...
But even that, like, let's expand on what is the purpose? What is the purpose of being a victim? Like, I think no matter what you believe in, whether it's God, Allah, Buddha, just the universe, like, you are going to be thrown adversity. Like, every religion, every spiritual belief talks about overcoming adversity. Agreed?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, all of them have stories of something that happened. So if we know we're supposed to face adversity as humans because that's where we grow, why do we allow people to sit in perpetual victimhood around us? When the reality is I should be like, Ollie, get your fucking ass up. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to learn something here, dude.
Yeah.
Right? And then you're like, oh, well, let's write down, what did you learn from this experience, buddy? And you write down, and go, okay, what are 2 things you can do to fix so this doesn't happen again? Boom. Now we got somewhere.
Yeah.
Instead of me being like, oh, it's okay, Ollie, let's go drinking or let's go do this. Let's do all the things, but really deal with why we're here.
Yeah.
You know, and that just frustrates me when I look. And like you said, our society, I watch and I see people that are supposed to be celebrities and leaders of the world that constantly cry out how big a victim they were. And I'm just like, why?
Right.
You've gotten to a place where you're more successful than most of the world will ever get. Instead of touting your victimhood, tout your resolution.
Mm-hmm.
Tout like how you don't let one moment define your life. Don't use your whole platform to seek sympathy and establish yourself as the greatest victim the world's ever known.
Yeah. I think the only productive thing to come out of that is to let people know that at some point in your life you may have fallen victimhood to something out of your control, right? But you don't let it affect you. Like one example for me, growing, and I've talked about this before, but falling victimhood to racism, right? That's a huge topic, especially in the last couple years. Yeah, I've fallen victimhood to that, and there was a time where I really was like, holy shit, man, like I'm having a hard time, I think, getting these interviews because of my name.
Yeah.
And I asked people, like, I even was debating on changing my name. Right. I was going to be Jaden Ali hyphenated because I don't want to go too far away from it, but really thinking about it. And then finally I kind of snapped out of it and was like, fuck that. You know, like, yeah, racism exists. Big deal. You know, prejudice exists. There's shitty people out there in the world, but I'm going to play the hand that I'm dealt And I'm not going to focus on, oh, well, maybe because my last name is Abuzalam, I'm not going to be able to get a job in the oil and gas industry, and focusing on that to where, acknowledge what your hand is, and don't focus on the victimhood, because I've been there. There's no positive results that come from it. Yeah, you may get someone's like, are you okay? You want me to, take you out for lunch or get a drink? And okay, maybe sometimes that may be what you need for a moment, but falling into victimhood is unacceptable. It's unproductive, and you just shouldn't do it. Don't allow yourself to become a victim. There's nothing honorable. There's nothing good that comes from that. And complainers always lose. If you're a baby ass complainer and I'm the victim of this, that, you're gonna lose. You're never gonna amount to anything in life. That's just the truth.
It is. And if your circle, if you're listening to this, you're like, wow, that's harsh. I challenge you to look at your circle. And if nobody in your circle says anything that ever kind of hurts your feelings every now and then, or never ask you about that dream you had that they haven't seen you take any steps towards, the idea that you've always been talking about, if nobody in your circle can bring that up to you or does bring that up to you, I challenge you to look at your circle. And are they really helping you progress, or are they there for comfort? And are they there because they accept everything you do at face value and will never challenge you to be better? And that's one of my biggest fears in life is becoming stagnant. And I fully believe there is no status quo. Like, you either are still improving or you're getting worse. Like, I don't, just like the tide is never just calm. It's always either coming in or it's going out. Like, it's always in motion. I believe that's how we are in life. And, as you and I talk off the air about changes and experiences, and that's one of the things that I think is great about our relationship. We're always challenging each other. Like, okay, you're going to move here, I might move there, we're going to be on the road, how do we make this work? It's not like, okay, well, we can't do this anymore because there's a new obstacle. No, we're always like, dude, we actually kind of like the obstacles. This new obstacle is also a chance to grow new communities, a chance to have new experiences, to share new ideas, to learn new things. But part of that is because we put ourselves in positions where that's kind of the expectation of the people around us.
Yeah. No victims in my circle. I don't allow it. I won't allow someone to fall into victimhood. If you're going through a hard time, yeah, I'll hear you out for the first time. But if you start that pity shit and feeling sorry for yourself, then you're affecting me. Yeah.
Day in, day out.
Then it's like, nope.
But think about, like, everybody we know has gone through rough times. You and I have gone through rough times since we met each other.
For sure.
But we're still here. And we're still progressing. We're still delivering. And we're still doing the things that we said we were going to do and trying to get better. Not just focused on, okay, well, this went wrong, so now I can't do anything anymore because that went bad.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we got to break that. And we got to, if we really want people around us to excel, we have to be honest.
Yeah.
And we have to be okay every now and then telling somebody something they may not want to hear, but they have to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the flip side, if you're going to be able to do that, you got to be able to listen a little bit too.
Yeah.
And hear some stuff that you should be hearing. And because it's not a one-way street.
Definitely not.
But we owe it to each other.
We do.
If people are giving you, it'd be just like at the gym. Like, if you come to the gym to get better, but I don't really want to hurt your feelings, so I don't push you super hard. I just push you right to where you're comfortable. Well, I let you down.
Yeah.
Right? And quite honestly, some people would be okay just getting pushed to the end of their comfort zone, but no more, and they'd go home. But they are not. They will never get better.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're comfortable.
Yeah.
And like, if we look at that in our relationships, like, okay, these people are in my life for me to help make them better. Am I making them better, or am I just letting them still stay comfortable and we don't do the things that can make everybody better?
Mm-hmm. And that's selfish of you to just take the comfortable route and not tell someone the honest truth of what they need to hear.
Yeah, well, I think it's denying of your gifts.
Yeah.
right? Because think about, like, if I watch you get up to a certain point where you're comfortable, but I know I have an exercise or idea, or you have an idea that can make this even bigger, but you don't share it because he likes being comfortable and what we're doing is already comfortable, so we'll just stay here. What if your next idea was the idea that changes the world? But because you were in a circle that stayed comfortable, that never really had to push each other, wasn't honest with each other, nobody knows about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a shame that would be.
Yeah. And even though it may be uncomfortable in the moment, that person is going to thank you later. You know, like one example I think about was during fight camp, that Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. I had never been pushed to that brink to where, 16 minutes straight, you're giving me, J-Train world champion and one of our super high level wrestlers, Justin's, two fresh fighters back to back, or a fresh fighter back to back every 2 minutes.
Every 2 minutes for 16 minutes.
For 16 minutes straight. So by that fourth round of them, I was so gassed. They were fresh, and I got pissed off. It was the first time inside the gym where I literally slapped the mat and was like, what the fuck? And I looked at you and was like, what the fuck, coach? Yeah. Like, what are you doing? What is this?
Yeah.
And in the moment, I was angry because I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, I can hardly stand up, and you're throwing these fresh fighters at me. But later, in the cage, round 2, we're going into round 3. I'm looking at my opponent. I was ready to go. I had the cardio. Yeah, I was tired as shit. It's a fight. Yeah. But I know that I had in the gas tank, and I had those, David Goggins calls them cookies in the cookie jar, that I knew, like, I've gone 16 minutes with fresh fighters back to back. I know I got this. Yeah. I've run mountains. I've trained, I've trained my ass up. I know I got this. And when you push someone like that you really love and care about, that's really showing them love and respect that they deserve, instead of being like, oh, you're tired, Ali? It's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead and take a break.
Yeah. Well, and think about it. Like, if I do that for you, I'm setting you up for failure.
Yep.
Right? Like, if we know you have a 9-minute fight and everything we do is for 9 minutes, there's a natural fatigue that's going to come in about 7 minutes. You're like, oh, I only have 2 minutes left. Mm-hmm. But when we train for 16 minutes or 18 minutes, 9 minutes feels easy.
Yeah.
Which is what you want. Like, you want the challenging things in life to feel easy because your preparation was so hard. And it was funny when I remember when we set that up. I remember you were like, well, I could just tell you were pissed, but like, that's what we have to do, because the last thing I want to do is be in the middle of a fight and you're like, you didn't prepare me. Like, I've never been this tired before in my life. Like, I would have let you down. But the fact is, I've seen you way more tired than you are right now. So that's why when you come over, I'm like, dude, relax and breathe. You're fine. Mm-hmm. That was 6 minutes, dude. We got plenty more left.
Right.
Right? And if you take that same microcosm or example and apply it to people's lives, we owe it to each other to make each other better. That's why they're in your life. Mm-hmm. Are you helping make them better? Are you pushing them out of being the perpetual victim, out of just complaining day in, day out, making them better by challenging them and pushing them to do hard things? Sometimes the hard things aren't physical. They're examining, why do I sit with this? Why did something that happened 30 years ago still define my life? Why do I give it so much power? In reality, what's a Shark Tank all about? It's not really about the actual fight for that 16 minutes you were in there. It's about you learning what you're capable of doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what our friendship should be.
Yep. And
our relationship should be is, okay, it helps me understand what I'm truly capable of. And being a victim and sitting in victim and wallowing, I call it wallowing. It reminds me of pigs that just play in the mud all the time. Like, if you're going to stay in the mud and play in the mud, you're always going to be dirty. Mm-hmm. And our job is to make sure the people that trust us with their time and their life, that we're better for that. Otherwise, what are we doing in that circle?
Letting them down.
I would say so. Letting ourselves down.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you all being here. Ollie and I love being able to reach you every week. If you are getting any value from this, we'd love to see you over on our Patreon page. Donations as small as 50 cents an episode are welcome, up to higher levels, get some different insights. We do have monthly Patreon calls to our higher level members, which are, 45 minutes or so, some kind of coaching type stuff, some different exercises we like to do. We actually have one coming up, and if you'd like to jump in on that, make sure you get over to Patreon and support us. And remember, team, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. We will see you all again next week.